Excellent. You ready to get started, Aaron?
Yep, I'm here.
Amazing. So, welcome. Welcome to Soul Sessions, what we're calling this opportunity to get to know your community, in particular, to get to know the team that's been supporting me and supporting the community. This was a great inspiration that Aaron himself had. And so, it's a great first interview to get us started with the series of five that Aaron would be doing it. Thank you so much for being with us today, Aaron. So,
Yay.
Aaron Mandelbaum has been with the AYAM community for about 8 years ish. And it was a really natural kind of flow for him. He started as a participant, but was always very servicial and involved and aware of what was going on in the group. And so he naturally facilitated into being of service and playing music and serving hape and just all around being an incredible support to us. We really appreciate all that he does throughout the weekend. And in general for the community, he's also done interviews and different elements that have been an important part of our journey. He's also a part of our board. Outside of this world, he's a facilitator and a coach and challenger committed to people growing and finding their peace. I'm just going to give a little bit more information about Aaron and then we'll get started. So, he has been researching, studying, practicing, and working in philosophy, transformation, and shamanism since the late 1990s. Did you mean late 1900s? I mean, probably he's an old soul. It's probably been before that. He holds a BA in philosophy with a concentration on ontology, death, sexual ethics, and an MBA in business strategy. He has participated in and assisted with Landmark Education, the Sterling Institute of Relationship, Haydn Temple, Francesca Gentile Shamanic Kink, ISTA, Shawnee. Is it Shawnee or Siani? How do you pronounce Shawnee?
Johnny.
I got it
Yeah.
right. Shawnee, Wild's Conscious King training, and so much more. In 2020, he created a marketing program for conscious creators. This online marketing course helps people create and grow authentic expressions of their personal magic. And he's designed experiences, programs, courses, and trainings worldwide. He travels all the time. This man's always on the road and continues to coach individuals, groups, and businesses. So, thank you for being with us today, Aaron. How are you
Mhm.
feeling
I'm so
about
good today.
diving in this conversation?
Yeah, always we always have such a good time chatting, just us. It's always like, I have a quick question, and then it turns into an hour and we've designed three new things and come up with all sorts of cool new ideas. So I love diving in and excited that this is getting some legs to be the start of what I think is going to be a useful series of different ways for people to get to know each other. Feels good.
Yeah, and you had mentioned, especially over the course of a weekend, it feels like, oh, we've got all this time, but actually, we don't have a ton of time, and we always wanna have and we do have these wonderful deep conversations, but there's always more just under the surface, and so this will be an opportunity for us to get a little bit under Aaron's skin, into the magic of who you are, Aaron. You are such an inspiration to so many people already, so thank you. Thank
Yay!
you. And so, for those of you who are participating, I'd like to invite you just to, take a moment to look at each other, just notice and connect with the group that we're part of this little circle. There might be some who listen to this afterwards, so connecting with them as well. Um, in this way, like we're creating wherever there's two or more gathered, right? We're creating this sacred circle. This fire, so to speak, has been lit um, in the center of our circle. So much magic can happen in this space. Not only are we orienting this conversation towards Aaron and his history, but there's going to be medicine and wisdom and inspirations and things interwoven into this conversation. So I hope that you take it to heart, and see where it might inspire you to go from here on your own spiritual journey. Yeah, and ways that you might get more support and more tools and resources as well for your spiritual journey. So
Yeah.
I will be directing a number of questions at Erin, but I also want to invite you all to consider, if you have questions as we're talking, feel free to use the chat feature. You can see it at the bottom of your screen. Um, we're not going to be predominantly using it, but I highly encourage you to use it so that you can type in some questions as we go. We're also going to have times that you can come on live and speak your questions as well. Sound good? Altogether, we'll be here for about an hour. And so, tuck in, grab your tea, and look forward to this great conversation.
Yay.
Yay. All right. So let's just dive right into the heart of the matter, shall we, Erin? Let's
Hmm.
really get to know. You've journeyed through such diverse fields, right? That's part of the magic of you and this capacity to bridge all of
Mm.
these incredible diverse fields. As I was introducing you, it's going from philosophy to business and all these different types of events all over the world, to shamanism, to somatic trauma methodologies. I mean, you really scoped a wide scope. And so, how have these diverse influences shaped your approach to shamanic practices, transformational coaching, your life in general?
It is really interesting. I remember when I was a kid, I found out that in college you had to major in one thing, and I got so upset and so frustrated. I was like, I want to do everything, but I want to do my own thing. And I didn't know about things like Gallatin and Hampshire College and places where you can make your own program. I just heard I had to pick one thing, and I was so upset. And so I constantly was studying and learning all these different things, and had a vast interest. And it took me a while to realize, well, it took time to have done a bunch of things to then look back and realize that the through line of all those different practices was similar. So whether it was
Mm,
like Eastern philosophy or like Nouveau transformation stuff or ancient shamanism and wisdom from different cultures, like the through line was this baseline of I don't think that I'm done yet. And I really enjoy the process of seeing what else is cooking and what else is possible instead of uh, just following things and assuming that this is the way they are and have to be always. And
mhm,
finding myself gravitated towards any methodologies that and people who are on this path of what else is there and what else could there be and who else can I be. And
mm,
it was really interesting, even in like getting an MBA in business strategy, it was that level of stuff, but for a business on a business, like what is the soul of the business and what wants to come through, and this is what we've done and where we're stuck, and like coming up with some new possibilities for how it could be, and seeing that as a through line through lots of different things. And I found other methodologies in schools that just don't ring true for me. And it's like, okay, that's cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And that's, not my path. And that's great. But I want to learn what it is about it and what you liked about it and how it works, because I
mhm,
might be able to then recommend it to somebody else or say, maybe you should check out this based on what I know. This might be the thing. So trying to be agnostic and be inquisitive at the same time. So like the through line has been, what else is there and what else can I learn and what else can I uncover, um, and that's what I've been spending my
mhm,
time with and attracting, which has been really fun.
mhm.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. I think that that lends to a certain attentiveness that we all feel
Mhm.
from you. That
Mhm.
question of like, what else is there?
Mhm.
It allows a curiosity and attentiveness and openness. that there's like, there's more. Like you said, there's more. I love that being the core of your inspiration through your studies,
Mm.
and I could see that still.
Yeah, yeah, so that's good.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Um, and so tell me more about these programs that you've facilitated. You do transformative programs worldwide and on global platforms online. Share more
Uh,
about some particularly memorable moments or breakthroughs you've witnessed or experienced,
mm.
and how has it resonated maybe in this same theme or in other themes along your path and development?
Ah, it's funny. What I'm first thinking of is people at any workshop or ceremony and different things. People are like, "What should I do next? Like, which order should I do things in?" And um, when should I do this? And how many of these should I do? And it's always like my path was whatever. I may have wished I could have done something sooner or whatever, but it's like whatever I'm ready for is the next one, which is great. And so like the messages and the great insights and ahas from each of these different things that I've done were at the right time, and I was right where I needed to be, which felt really good. Um, and my journey was one of, without having the language for it, but being interested in non-ordinary reality and how can I step into like what else is there in the world. And when I was like a teenager, I'd slipped into an unhealthy relationship with non-ordinary reality where it became an escapism. And that led to recreational drugs and just constantly being in an escape mode. And luckily, I didn't expect to live to see the age of 30. Um, and I got into enough trouble where I woke up and um, uh, was started doing, finding some new community, which was really the key. Um, I started attending 12 step because I was like mandated to, and playing with 12 step programs. And through that, I met some community, which really had me stick around and look at changing my life. Um, and so that was huge to be in some community. So I felt the power of not doing it alone, and chosen family and connecting with people who can take me to another level. And mentorship, that was the other thing. And one of the lessons throughout all my life has been like always have a mentor, at least one, and that it's okay if, like any relationship, it's okay if you're ready for the next level and you moving on to the next one, but constantly looking for guidance. And
Mm,
um, I moved away from the 12 step world because for me it was very past focused, and it was like, this is who you are, this is who you've been, you're always going to be this. There's this risk of you turning back into who you were and being this active drug addict and things like that. And I started finding and shifting. That's when I started studying more formal philosophy, and I was shifting into things that were more about creating your life as whatever you want it to be, and how can you shift your relationship to time and your relationship to death, and building something for yourself now, and uncovering what's actually in the way of you living fully. And then that led to doing things like Landmark, which is beautiful transformation work, um, but is very neck up, and is a lot of thinking exercises and ideas and concepts and jargon that has you see the world and gives you a lot of tools for how you perceive the world and move through it. But it's very neck up and it ignores so much of the rest of the body. Um, and years later, finding uh, more plant medicine work, which was almost like no mind, no body. And it was like, let's disappear from everything. And then finding some more embodied work that was in the body, but not ignoring the mind, recognizing that there's all these other elements of you. Like, what is your heart saying about this? What is your gut saying about this? And I'm so grateful to be in this time where there's lots of different opportunities for lots of different cool work that are happening, where people are pushing the envelope and doing some edgy, traditionally edgy things, Um, but when we look at it in a different timeline, it's all the things that we used to do many, many years ago.
Mhm.
Initiations, um, supporting community, like calling people up and forward and holding people accountable and living in, moving deeper into normalizing consent instead of entitlement and things like that. And so some of the work that I'm doing now spans everything from working with a psychologist on a program that's all about uh, inner child, not inner child. We're trying to say more outer child stuff because uh, it's really like your child is who you're expressing as. So it's really more outer child work, but it's like early childhood imprints and patterning and what's created a lot of who we are and being able to see it so we can decide if that's still useful or not, all the way through doing work with. I have a 3 day course that's all about presence, and I recognize how being present was the source of, or lack of presence was the source of upset and disappointment and expectations and confusion and communication breakdowns and things like that. So, a 3 day course all about presence. I work with a group that's doing trainings on dropping shame, guilt, and fear around our bodies and our sexuality. Um, and then groups doing work around where is your soul? What is your soul's like calling and mission? And instead of trying to access the soul from an ego perspective, like how can we access the soul from where it is, and then step backwards into how does our ego support that soul mission? Instead of like, I'm going to go to India to find myself, even though I've never been there, and I'm going to listen to this music and buy these clothes and do this ego realm doing stuff to figure out who I'm supposed to be. How can we kill that off and step into and let arise what it is that we want to be, and and then have the ego support that moving forward. So a lot of that work is the rebirth of temple culture, which is very, very old traditions. The temples were spaces where soldiers would come to on their way home from war to drop any of the psychological, ontological, and emotional and spiritual armor that they were carrying and coming back to themselves before they entered the village again. They would drop that and have these processes and these. And so, what are all the elements of the temple life, and how does that show up in the world, and how can we bring that to the world? So lots of elements of that, lots of elements of some elements of training people in how to do some of this work and doing some one-on-one body work to find what's stuck and where there's energetic blockages and how to release that. Um, and all sorts of fun magic too. That's the other great thing about this is it's so much fun. We can have a blast and be silly and giddy and dance through it all. But it's great. Yeah, it's had me travel all over the world and get to do courses and workshops all over the place and meet amazing people. And really the best thing about that, which solidified the fire for doing this more often, is no matter age, religion, sex, political upbringing, like what the world is like, what their community is like, if there's a share, like I've been in so many hundreds of sharing circles and it's so much of the same concerns everywhere we go. You know, doesn't matter all that background stuff. There's just this interesting base level humanity that we all share, and that makes the world feel so much smaller and so much more intimate and beautiful. Um, so many people are mad at their parents, think they're not good enough, are worried about finding a partner, are trying to survive and want to provide for their kids. And it's like, that's it. And the rest seems like stuff that gets in the way.
Mhm, mhm. That's really powerful. I really appreciate how you're showing us, like, the journey of your own transformation, right, in this story, and then how now you're creating and participating in spaces where others can participate in their own transformation. Therefore, like, acknowledging this statement, this belief that you can change. Like, there isn't this foundational being that you are and are determined to be forever. You can you can transform that.
mm,
And despite all the differences and the unique qualities, like we're all after some of the basic same things. And it's I think that then I like to see how that carries forward into what we can create. Like no one or no one's the same, but we can also see patterns in how our misalignments are treated. Right. And I've been
yeah.
hearing some of the keys for you, like feeling passionate about something, feeling
Mm,
ready, readiness for something, also feeling involved with community. And I was hearing like a really big part of your community is ritual,
mm,
and again ancient influences and times of gathering and initiations. But I also want to open up another piece that you mentioned, as I hear as like a core value, is this mentorship, this like piece of guidance.
yeah,
Right?
so
I
good.
think that that's something we can see across the collective, right? And you're someone who gives so much support,
Mm,
but I hear you saying, I also consistently am receiving support. I need mentorship, I need guidance. So tell me more about what is the value of that support? Is there somewhere in particular that you really like to get? Is there someone that's been a great mentor to you? Talk to us more
mm.
about
Um, I'm just thinking about like who have I asked for advice or insight or support who's ever said no? And if they did say no, like then if I tracked it out, like were they worth was that like
asking in the
for my
first place.
protection? Yeah, was that for my best interest? Like, no, you don't want advice from me. Um, um,
You were being
I-
saved.
yeah, exactly. I had always heard. I don't think I heard it as loudly. I'm seeing the clues when I think backwards about like the times I was asked to like get advice and stuff like that. Even like guidance counselor in school, they'd say like talk to people who do that job that you think you want and see what that's like. Um,
Mhm,
Part of me was I don't think I think part of it is I didn't have this thought of this person is smarter than me and knows more than me. I'm not good enough or something's wrong with me. It was this person's smarter than me and knows more. I should learn from them. And I want to hear what they have, and I want to hear what pitfalls I should avoid and things like that. Um, I always got along with teachers more than my fellow students a lot of times. Um, I always had interesting questions, and I liked finding the answers to things. I think the deepest root of it was really whenever I had a question growing up, even if my mom knew the answer, she'd say, "Let's look it up." And we
mhm,
went to the encyclopedia, which was old Google, and
mhm,
um, we would spend time learning things, and we would watch documentaries, and so there was a a strong imprint around learning and education and understanding more. And I had heard it repeated in hearing people speak who were interesting and uh, whatever that I had on whatever kind of pedestal that they had mentors and that they were I always heard like never be the smartest person in the room and keep asking questions and things like that. Um, so right out of business school, there was somebody who came and worked at the company I worked at, and she had her stuff together and had done a bunch of cool things, and I was following her. Um, I've even heard advice later on in life from people who didn't have a relationship with someone they wanted to be their mentor, who would just write them letters like, I may never get a response, but just this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm up to, and I thought you should know. And ended up years later, like working with them and doing some cool things together. Um, I've, in one of the groups I teach with, um, to become a facilitator, is there's no path to like apply to being a facilitator, no matter how much work you've done, even in a related field, through showing up and being in the community and in the space, one of the lead facilitators would ask you, like, are you interested in this? And you're like called up into it. And and then you find two other mentors. And the process is there's no guarantee this will turn into anything. We don't know how long it'll take. but are you in? I'm like, yeah, I'm in. And I got to work with the mentors who were diverse and different and had different styles, but different qualities that I liked. And when I talked to other people who were apprenticing in that program, they said like, "Oh, I'm not getting much from my mentors. I'm not getting this." I'm like, "I don't know how you're not getting anything. Like, I'm pulling things. Like, the way I thought about it was, I may not become a facilitator with this group, but I have these people are answering my phone calls, and they've been doing this for, between them, it was like, 120 years of experience. So I'd call them all the time. This is what I'm working at. This is what I'm noticing. This is what I'm checking out. Here's some shadows I'm hunting. Here's where I'm having problems and trouble. And luckily, that community is also huge on feedback. So even facilitating a workshop, if we're delivering a piece of content for an hour, we right afterwards is like, okay, what could I do better? What worked? What didn't work? And people are asking me who have been doing this for 30 years, and I'm like, okay, cool. So there's this humility, I think, is one of those elements that has this work. Um, a genuine desire to want to learn, not to fix something, but not to make up from some failing of my own, but like I really want to learn, and that knowing that it's okay that I don't know this and that someone else does. So give me this information. Um, and that there's something to learn from everybody is really helpful. Um,
Mhm.
so, you know, everybody is a mirror in a certain way, and those who are consensually mentoring is great. And because there's tons of non-consensual people out there trying to save and coach us and tell us how it should be. And no thanks.
Yeah.
But I find it's the humility and it's the guiding through just their existence. Like, oh yeah, you have a lot to teach me. And oftentimes it's like, wow, I see who you are, and now I know that this isn't my path, and like I want to learn this different thing instead. And like I've learned enough about that to know that that's not for me. Um, and I tell people I serve hot pay, like, oh, are you gonna try to serve ayahuasca? I was like, that's not up to me. I was like, I leave that to the experts. And if I'm called to that, it's not from me being interested in it. It's like I know that she'll say something or not. And that hasn't shown up, and that's fine. Um, but I'm nervous. But if the person who you sit with does it because they've always wanted to do it and they're going to find a way to do it, that's a bit of a red flag for me.
Mhm. Mhm. A lot of great wisdom in that answer. Thank you, Erin. I'm curious as you're sharing, this great insight that we could take into every dimension of everyone being our teacher. And I love seeing that in you. You really communicate with everyone with that energy. I observe your conversations or our conversations, and there's this, yeah, readiness to give as well as readiness to receive, and
Mm,
that humility. And I love that about
mm,
you. So
mm.
let's see what the community here has. If anyone has any questions brewing for Erin, we'll just take a moment to let you unmute yourselves, and one person can ask a question.
I would like to acknowledge something that I'm seeing.
Mm,
Erin, one of the things that I wonder if you're aware of is that the approach of what else is possible and like this coming to the world with curiosity and question is so different than what most people experience in their day-to-day life. Is
mm,
like that in some ways is something I've always seen as the beauty of you. As like this, it's like others can get there. A lot of us are striving for this, like finding our path or finding the way. And
mm,
then it's like, but you have to walk it. But that part of the walk for you is so natural. Like it's like there's not an effort that has to, you don't practice that. You just are
mm,
it. Like it's a state of being.
mm,
And so like I wonder, like if you could talk more, was there a point at which you just started to recognize more of that in your being? Or do you get like it's like the thing that we don't see about ourselves is actually the thing we just are? You're like, "Well, I don't notice that." And it's because that's just who you are. That's just what you are. So I'm
yeah.
curious can talk a little bit
Mm.
more about that process, because I get that, I call it interesting point of view. Like just being like, "Oh, that's where you're at. Cool." You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like how you approach the world in that way. Like, how did you get there?
Yeah, it's the way I hear it is like that you're asking about like the curiosity and yeah, um, I think it happened organically in a certain sense, and where I'm at now with it is recognizing that um, um, when I started learning about my default reaction, my emotional reactions, and things like that, where I can get defensive or downplaying or minimalizing, like, oh, that's not such a big deal, don't worry about it, right? Or like I didn't say that or something like that. There was a time where I was like super defensive, especially if something was like perceived as wrong. Like what happened at that meeting? I was like, I wasn't at that meeting. Like that's not my job, or someone else is in charge, right? Um, coming to a place of coming back to it to that situation, or infusing that situation with some curiosity um, can help infuse a lot of or diffuse a lot of the concern and also come to more clarity. Um, so the two steps for me are I did a lot of work with my emotions with um, so I was really good at stuffing things down, so much so that I didn't even realize it. And I was developing so much of my neck up brain and logic and argumentation, like, oh, that's not even an argument. That doesn't make sense. So like we can't even talk about that. But or thinking my way out of it, or thinking my way out of feeling. This doesn't make sense to feel something about this because whatever reason, and coming up with reasons for things. And so much got squashed down that it ends up leaking out sideways. So learning how to process and feel the emotions without judgment or understanding what's going on and just feel what there's to feel, so that my mind was clear and that I was using it for what it could be good at, but without this charge of all the emotions behind it. Like let the brain do good, but give it good fuel. It's running on like dirty fuel of like emotional reaction and emotional logic instead of like what's actually happening. And one of the things that helps diffuse those things, so like if somebody comes to me with a complaint about something I did or something about me, I can like scream into my hand or like shake it off, like, okay, give me a moment to like feel the feels and get it out. And now let's get curious, like tell me more about how that landed for you. What you wanted to happen? Where was the communication breakdown? How can we get there? Um, so that's one angle, is recognizing that path was very helpful to find to bring us back to love, like instead of an us, me, you, like what's that point in the middle? The other side is in working with people and being curious with people's own transformation is wanting to do it, but it's like the shoemaker's kids have no shoes, right? It's hard to do this process on ourselves. And um, in getting stuck, what works more than anything else, I know what I learned what doesn't work is like, oh, you need Vipassana. Oh, you need to just drink a couple more gallons of ayahuasca, or you need to, go to ecstatic dance more often, or whatever it is, right? Like, and people are doing that because that's what worked for them. That was their path, but they're not employing any curiosity and judgment about what would work for this person. So coming to them in a stuck state with curiosity is, I find, disarms and diffuses and brings some real change. So like if I'm working with somebody during a ceremony and they feel stuck, or they feel upset, they could be swearing and screaming and whatever. It's like, okay, what's going on? Like, how are you? What are you feeling? Like, I don't have to agree with what they're saying or make them wrong for saying it. Just like, would you feel more comfortable if we went outside? Like, oh yeah, that's what I was been trying to say. I didn't have the words for. Like, I just want to go outside. So I think the curiosity, I think it just has been proving itself over and over, like to pause and get curious, like what's going on here.
Hmm. I love this. I'm hearing one, obviously you're saying this pause. That intentional pause could get us so far in our lives, right?
Uh,
Oh, open that space for curiosity and coming back to love. And I
I
also
see so many
hear
people fighting about things where they have the same intention and they're using different words and they're heated And it's like, no, we're trying to get to the same place, but like you said you'd be here on Tuesday. It's like, oh yeah, okay. Like you said you would do this before on Sunday, and it's like, I don't know where we're. Yeah.
I know if we just took a moment to pause and assess, see that the values, the goal, the intention is the same.
Mm,
Yeah, but sometimes, like you were saying at the beginning, that isn't possible because there's this emotional charge. And that's
yeah.
such a human experience that we all go through. And to know that we can develop tools, I think that's an important part, at least for me, of having mentorship and coaching and that curiosity of learning is learning tools so that I can manage my emotional response and
Yes.
have an effective response instead of an emotional reaction.
Yeah.
So that's that's
That's
why we
part of
do
that
what we
pause.
do.
Yeah, that's part of that pause too, because it's not anti-emotion. Yes, you love your
Mhm,
emotions, have the emotions, feel
mhm.
the things. But if you see a little kid who's having a temper tantrum, if they're allowed to get have that full temper tantrum, then they can talk about what they're feeling. And we've all grown up in a world where it's like, no, act your age, like put your hands behind your back and like don't touch that and do this. And you know, and we've been stifled so much we forget that. And so to bring some, drop the judgment around it, let that flow, then the brain works a lot better.
Yeah. And to intentionally create spaces, which bridges me into this next question. I wanted
Mm,
to come back to, you had mentioned the power of ritual and in your community and your work. And I see
mm,
this as like this is part of why we create these spaces, these ceremonies or rituals or practices, because we know that we're going to be accumulating emotional baggage and we know that we're going to need tools and
mhm.
practices to come back, a safe space, practitioners to guide us
Yeah.
through these types of rituals. So you tell me, yeah, ritual facilitation of these are so important to you. Tell me more about why what's that role that is playing in the modern shamanic practice, the modern shamanic
Mm,
life and personal transformation. I mean, I see that
yeah.
when I'm creating my courses, the 6-month course in particular outside of the ceremony is like, how do we create modern rituals day to day? Maybe
Yes.
you have some rituals that you share in your work with your clients, or what are some rituals that you're doing in your life? Talk to me more
Mm.
about that.
It's so good because it in a certain sense it's a continuation of this. It's the pause, right? It's let's
Mm,
be intentional about what we're doing here. So it could be as simple as brushing your teeth and
mhm,
where you keep your keys and like how you're.
mhm.
I leave the house and I turn off the lights, like it's part of my thing,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and it flows into the background. But it's okay. We're gonna have we have to have a deep conversation. And we want to sit and be present. Okay, let's take a breath. Let's make this a moment that let's acknowledge that we're here. Let's acknowledge that we're stepping into something and that we're bringing some energy and some attention here. Um, One of my teachers likes to say, in talking about bringing the sacredness to the moment, um, you know, the sacredness shows up because we say so. Let's bring this let's create this as a sacred space because we say so. And in a certain sense, the sacred is related to the same word for sacrifice. And it's like, I'm
Mm,
giving up so much to be here right now. And that's enough to create this as a sacred space. And
mm,
um, then
mhm,
it's there's some who can turn this into a spiritual bypass to get at what's really needs to get at, but it can be done in a way where it's let's be mindful, let's be aware, let's be conscious, let's sacrifice this time and anything else to be 100% here in this moment. And um, and then no matter what you're doing, it could be, this is why this could be how you eat your food, right? Bringing some presence and awareness before you eat your food, before you cook your food, before you serve your food, right? Um, and this is something I quote you on, Rachel, a lot, is activate your medicine before you serve it. You were the
mm,
first to tell me that. And so whether that's, in my hand for a half a second before I'm serving you hape, like
mhm,
it's there. And I see some people, their hape practice is just like, and then go back to watching TV, and it's just part of their day, and they don't even notice that they're doing it. It's just behavior. Um, that's one way to do it. And then that extra breath can bring it into this focus. In terms of the ritual, whether it's something that's happening all the time, like we say, use the word like ritualistic, I do it this way all the time. Even if you've never done it, um, creating that sacred space to set aside energetically and physically to honor what you're stepping into, and having some foresight in creating something that honors all of who you are and what the intention is. Stepping in with the intention, I think, is key. Um,
Mm,
we could talk for hours about the difference between like agenda and attention, but like um, creating a space for the mystery and the magic and surprise to show up, and all sorts of extra gifts to show up, um, and doing it in a way that's a ritual that's has it show up not as an exercise or a workshop or a practice or something like that. Like I'm not trying to build muscle by exercising this and stretching it to a place where it hasn't been. A ritual is creating awareness and presence in a way that
mm,
allows for the magic to show up, and something beyond that to show
mm,
up. Um,
mhm,
so some of the rituals, there's like so many, and I really love coming up with some new ones. But it starts with what's needed, right? We don't just create something just to create something and say like
mhm,
we're gonna do this
mhm.
and then do this and do this and like throw these ingredients together and hope it turns into something. Like no, we want a
Right.
cake. Oh, you want a cake? Okay, so we don't need tomatoes. We don't need this. We don't need that. Like let's figure out what we need to end up with a cake. And if we end up with
Mm,
an upside down cake, oh well, that's cool. Um,
mhm,
so there's too many wonderful, great, amazing, fantastic rituals out there that we can do, but that I could talk about. But
oh, just tell us about one.
yeah,
Just
um,
give us one.
l- let's see what came up. That's really fun. So we do this really amazing thing with working with people about getting embodied, and we say you're working in a group of 5 people. What are some who's got an issue that they need help solving, like a big decision or a problem they can't solve? And so someone raises their hand, they tell their group what the issue is, and then we tell the other 4 people, you're going to be their head, you're going to be their heart, you're going to be their gut, you're going to be their sex. And the head's trying to figure it out, the heart wants connection, the gut is safety and security, and the sex really wants to like experience pleasure and just move through what feels good, and has the life force energy of like I'm going to do it, I can do it. And and then the person with the issue lays down and hears all 4 of those people speaking at the same time on top of each other, and we said, this is what life is like in your body. And now you get to experience it. And then each one gets to state their case individually. And then you can have 2 of them maybe argue with each other or try to state their case. And in a sense, it's this role playing, fun, and silly experience. But it's this out of body, non ordinary thing where you're getting to see people who have never met you before are making tons of
Mm,
sense. And it's like, oh, wow, this is it. I get it. And um, you may not get to resolution, but you may get some inspiration, and you get a different sense of like what's happening in your body, so that going forward you can have an experience of checking in with these different parts. And then all of a sudden, when you have an issue or something to resolve, it's like, okay, my heart's all for this, but my gut says something's fishy. And so through doing a ritual like this to help somebody with this one decision that could be as simple as, do I move or should I quit my job, right? um, all of a sudden there's this embodied sense, and it's a complete alter going forward of how to relate to who we are and how to move forward. And then each of those problems that comes up in the future becomes another ritual, like, okay, how am I feeling here, how am I feeling in my gut, how am I feeling with my brain, right?
mm,
So it can alter in a really significant way.
mhm. I love that. Oh, I'm so glad I got you to share that with us.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I love
That's
getting to do that.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, that could
Mm,
be as serious or as silly as whatever it is, right?
yeah,
And surprises. It could be a surprise.
yeah. I love this. It's making me think, there's so much that can happen just in one ritual. Like, just like that could create a really incredible breakthrough for
Yeah.
someone to be able to externalize all these different voices and get support, and there's just so much happening in there, like, if
Mhm.
you were to analyze that. And then I also see the value of, like, longer term ritual, contextual facilitation and support. And I know that you offer longer term support, like, over the course of, say, a 6 session series. And
Mhm.
as do I, like a 6 month course. And
Yeah.
so, talk to me about what's the value of sticking with something over a longer period of time and doing it more than once?
Yeah, it's this is true of medicine ceremonies and all these courses and all these workshops and Vipassana, or it could be, you know, the cow and a cuddle party, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot happens right there, but the real magic is the integration afterwards.
Mm,
And it's like that's might be like the pond in the water, but those ripples are where, you know,
mm.
so much plays out because those ripples then start bumping into. Okay, great, you had an amazing time at Vipassana, but now you have to go spend a weekend with your aunt for the holidays. Like, how's that going to be? And or you still have to go to the grocery store. What's that going to be like? Um, and so what I found was one of the offerings that I've been how one of the ways I work with people is like a 6 session coaching container, and I say my preference is that it's uh, no less than um, no less than 4 months and no more than 8 months, because I don't want it to be so spread out that we're catching up so much in each session, and I don't want it so compact that you don't have time for it to percolate and flow through and land. Um, it's funny, actually. The session I have tomorrow is a continuation. We had a session with this person a few weeks ago, and we cut it in half. We met for 45 minutes instead of our usual hour and a half. He's like, I got everything I need. I think I'm good. I think I got enough. Like, I feel full. Like, great. We'll do our next session. We'll do the second half of this. And we'll see how it goes for 2 weeks and 3 weeks, whatever it was. And it's not about like what happens here. It's how that plays out. And a few things happen in our check-in, and the first thing we'll do is like, of what you said you were going to do, what did you do, what didn't you do, what are the impacts of having done this or thinking about this in a different way? How's your being impacted your existence? um, and like, what are the biggest challenges since? And the challenges start to build up, and not build up, I should say. I always like the quote, if I learned anything from video games, it's that if the enemies keep getting harder, I'm going the right way. Um,
I love
and that's all.
that.
Yeah, it's like, it's like watching the movie too. The bad guys get harder because you're going the right direction.
Yeah, that's a
And
good reminder though. Sometimes you think like, "Oh man, this is like I must be getting worse."
I used to hear that
Right.
thing all the time, like, you never get more than you can handle. It's like, yeah, but stop testing me, please. Like, can't this be enough? Um, so what's great about being in that container too is of a multi-session thing is inevitably I remind people about where they were when we started. It's session 4, session 5, session 6, and they're like, I don't even recognize that person anymore. Like, what? I was doing that? Really? Like, that was what I was complaining about or worried about? Like, um, and what's great about it is that there's always new challenges and there's always new things. Um, and what I like about saying, defining myself as a challenger too is, there's like teachers who just give you knowledge, which is the most common and the least effective way to transfer knowledge. Like, read this, here's a bunch of dates, like, here, cram your head full of this stuff. There's consultants who are experts and come in and help solve a problem and then they leave. And um, what I like about coaching is coachings help help evoke new capabilities in what you're doing. And I don't have to be able to do that. Like, Michael Phelps's coach can't swim as well as Michael Phelps, but he can help him swim better.
Mhm.
So I do a lot of that. And challenging is more about asking some questions about, like, I'm going to bring you I'm going to confront you with some obstacles that you may not have seen through curiosity, right? Like, I'm hearing this and I'm hearing this. Are these part of the same thing? Is that what's really
Mhm.
going on? And could you take on doing this, and that? And like, okay, yeah, I'm ready for it. Like, yeah, I believe in you. Go do the thing. Um,
Mhm.
so create some new obstacles that are mindful and attainable, so that you can get closer to the goals that you want.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, delicious answer.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to hear some more from our group if anyone has some other questions that they're thinking about when they're listening to all of this. Or something totally random. You want to know what Aaron most likes to eat. Hey,
Hi,
Amy.
Erin. I don't necessarily have a question. I just want to say that I'm smiling so much. There, it's- your path, your life, it resonates. I could relate, and it gives me hope because I
Hmm.
still, struggle so much. And I love when you said, during these sessions, you see your clients progress, because a lot of times I don't see progress, but I know there is, but I like my partner, he's great. He'll always say, Amy, no matter how down you feel right now, you've come so far. And that's so important.
Um,
One thing that I noticed that I loved what you did, as you were talking, you were saying, and Rachel knows this about me already, but when you said like you get defensive, or when someone, you know, talks to you or approaches you about something, and you did something like you were like it was like you were teaching yourself how to release whatever that initial emotional reaction was, and that's something that I really want to learn and develop
hmm.
and train myself to do, because I tend to react from emotion, not Rachel, what did you say? You said you want to respond with your mind, not your emotion. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
huge.
thank you. Mhm.
Yeah, I have. You reminded me of two things about the tracking the progress. I mean, occasionally when I remember to do it in the moment, when I meet somebody who's telling me all about how much they love journaling, I ask them how often they go back and read old posts that they've written, and very few people I talk to actually go back and read their old things. And for
Mm,
them, it's the process of writing it. And it's really amazing to, like, once a week pick a random page, or scroll back like two old journals and see what your life was like then. Because when I do it, it's like, oh, I was doing my best, and like I was really worried about that, or like I was hanging out with these people, or like what, like,
mm,
you know, I can instantly put myself back there and feel very far away. So that I highly recommend, if anybody has a journaling practice, go back and read old one. Um, and then the
mhm,
thing about the emotional stuff, a lot of the techniques I learned, one mentor of mine, she's been doing transformational work for like 55 years. She's in her late 70s now, and she said the single greatest thing she ever did was spend 10 minutes a day for 60 days, just feeling and venting and screaming and crying, and like doing all these exercises around, to keep your body and your space safe, but like safe emotional expression, but without knowing what it is, or without being triggered when you start. Just like, I'm going to let my body feel all the feels and go through the motions. And then I might cry, I might scream, I might get angry, I might be sad, but it doesn't matter, and I don't have to make judgments about it or figure out where it came from. Just moving that to clear out that reservoir, right?
mhm.
um, and then the practice is, when someone cuts you off in traffic, not letting it add to that, like venting it in the moment safely. And she said that was the biggest thing that she ever did. Yeah, so good.
Gotta empty the reservoir. We got a number of tanks in there, some we wanna fill up, some we wanna
Yeah.
empty.
And this is it. It's such a dance. It's like, oh, why is my tank for love only like 1 tablespoon, but my tank for like pain and everybody who hurt me overflowing, and it's 20,000
Mhm,
gallons. It's like, does that have to be the way it is? then we start seeing the world through the lens of the tank that's overflowing of people are trying to hurt me. And this like victim
Mhm.
mindset starts becoming very easy to understand because because we're full of it. We're literally full of it, right? And let's draining that out and start from a blank slate.
Yes. Mm, well
Yeah.
said. We have time for
Hmm.
another question. If anyone else has something that they would like to ask or reflect on. So maybe you'd like to share with us what your upcoming life is like. What are
Hmm.
you doing? Are you sharing events? I am sure you're traveling. What are you going to be sharing and experiencing in the next couple months?
Next couple things going on. I'm doing my 3-day training called Voyage into Presence. I'm doing that in Connecticut, in Cheshire, Connecticut, February 15th, 16th, and 17th. It's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and that's like a President's Day, I think. So Monday's the
Right after
holiday.
Valentine's Day,
And it's
too.
right after
There
Valentine's
you
Day. So,
go.
and then I'll be doing it in Florida, March 21st to 23rd. Um, in upstate New York, near Saratoga, I'm doing an event called Liberation, March 30th to April 4th, and that's the one that I'm co-facilitating with a clinical psychologist, and it's all around the early childhood imprints and patterning, and it's trauma informed and lots of time for resourcing. There's 3 months of aftercare included. A lot of people end up reverting to their 5-year-old for the whole week. It's a blast. Um, that one's amazing. Um, and I'll be doing another group I work with called ISTA, the International School of Temple Arts. This one in Utah, April 7th to the 13th, and then New York, that same venue near Saratoga, June 3rd through 12th. And all of this is on my website, aaronmandelbaum.com. It's got my whole calendar there. Um, and hoping to relaunch that marketing course again for anybody who's like a solopreneur or shamanpreneur I've been hearing, and it's called
Oh,
Marketing for
what's this?
Spirit.
What's this?
The new one I've been hearing is a shamanpreneur.
What? What's
Yeah,
that?
it's like we used to call the website marketing for spirit workers, and that sounded too vague and strange. And so people have been identifying as like entrepreneurs and like soulpreneurs and shamanpreneurs and all the spiritual, business creators. So we just made it marketing for conscious creators, and I'm going to re-record all the courses, all the video courses, and relaunch that soon. Um, but yeah, everything's on
Okay,
aaronmeldebaum.com.
okay.
Yeah, I got room for bodywork stuff and one-on-one coaching stuff, um, and again, like I may know someone who's better for something. Like I'm fascinated. I love to hear what people are working on, and it's like, oh, I know a course for that, or I know someone who does that, or something like that, and I'm happy to share the love and connect people.
Yes. Yes, you do.
Hmm.
Always got so many good recommendations. So I have some of Erin's info up on this website, iamlove.org/IamEmbodying. I put it in the chat.
Hmm.
You'll find these links there as well as other information. It's also noted there, and we'll share now. Aaron is offering a special discount for the IM community to join him in a 6-session series. That's usually 4,800. He's offering a discount of 4,000. So you'll have his contact information, all those different things there on the site. So you can follow up and keep up to date with all of the events that he's offering and download his calendar. I'll also be putting up there a link to book one-on-one free session with me. I've connected with most of you already, but you can, reconnect with me, connect with Aaron, connect with the community, see the follow-up sessions to this interview series and all kinds of other things. So it's all in one place for you. This has been absolutely a glorious hour. I mean, I feel you, Amy. My cheeks are like kind of sore just from smiling so much. I feel deeply like the wellspring of my heart is being filled, just by your presence, but by your intentionality with your answers, your just your wisdom, your experience, your humor, just so much about what and I'm sure the ripples, as you were saying to us before, will also be really beautiful. So thank you so much, Erin, for your
Mm.
time and sharing who you are and all of the things that you're doing with us. And thank you guys for being here and asking some great questions.
Mwah.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any final things that they want to ask? Say, Erin, did I miss anything that you want to share with the group?
Can't wait to be with you all soon. That's it. In any way, in any capacity, I'm ready to share all this, and let me be a stone on your path. I'm happy to help offer whatever I can.
What a cozy stone.
Yeah.
Erin is a very cozy stone. And if you're looking for a hug, Erin's the guy to go
Hmm.
to, just deep hug.
Deep
We
hugs.
could try and receive that from a virtual
Yes.
capacity right
Mm.
now.
Mm.
Oh, so
Thank you,
good.
everyone. So good to see you
Thank
all, and
you.
more to
Offering you
come.
guys some cedar for your
Mm.
journeys beyond. Feel free to bless yourselves. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sacred Circle.
Mhm.
Our next gathering is going to be December 29th at the same time. And we'll have subsequent for a total of 5 of these wonderful interviews with 5 different wonderful team members. So I hope to see you again soon. And feel free to stay on feel free to leave if you have additional questions or needs. We're here for another few minutes. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have
Thank
a
you so
beautiful
much.
rest of your Sunday.
Okay. Thank you so much, Erin and Rachel. Bye-bye,
Bye,
Eileen.
You're
Amy.
welcome. Be well.